So the most popular player in the NBA right now is Yuki Kawamura. He is a player that is like, it's almost like Brian Scalabrine. If you guys remember Brian Scalabrine when he would check in at the end of the games and people would go crazy, we've never seen something kind of like this in basketball for a player who is currently averaging 1.1 points per game, I think. Yeah, 1 point per game. And in this video, we're going to be talking about Yuki Kawamura and how, honestly, just how good at the sport of basketball he is, because a lot of people talk about him like he's just some sort of meme, and that's honestly what he's become in the NBA. And I'm going to also talk about the possibility for Yuki Kawamura to maybe go in a Linsanity type run. But before we get on to that, we are trying to hit 8,000 subscribers by the end of the day, and right now we are only 28 subscribers off. So this is an article from Bleacher Report, how 5'8" Yuki Kawamura made the roster. So he was promoted to a 2A. He's played a lot of NBA minutes. While this deal wouldn't generate much attention, he's been a unique case because of his size. At 5'8", Kawamura is the shortest active player, and he's the 13th player in league history listed at 5'8" or shorter. The last player to appear at a game listed at 5'8" or shorter was Marquise Noel, who made one appearance. He's the only player in NBA roster listed under 6 foot going into the season. Spent the past 4 years playing in the B League, won an MVP. And the big thing when it came to Yuki Kawamura is how good he was in the Olympics. So this game against France was a game where Japan were robbed. And I mean that. They were robbed. Like, the biggest no call. They were up points. Literally up 4 points. All they had to do was not play defense. And Matthew Strazel pulls from 3, hits the 3. Someone was near him in his general vicinity and won. Game goes to OT. Game over. Like, it was a robbery, one of the biggest robberies I've seen in sports. But Yuki Kawamura was unbelievable. He got a couple of boards. He was getting in there and he had 30 points. And that's the thing. Like, he has that in him. It's just, the issue is that the NBA is a tall man's game right now. Yeah, he's playing a couple of minutes here and there. 4 points in 5 minutes against Washington. And it's funny because a lot of people are obviously thinking of him like a Scalabrine type meme player. And the most unfortunate thing about this is that Yuki Kawamura is unbelievably good at the sport of basketball. And I mean that. It's the NBA is just no longer meant for small people anymore. Like, I'm telling you, if Isaiah Thomas was trying to play today, like Isaiah Thomas, like, there's a reason why he's not in the league anymore. If you are not dropping 30 points per game or near to it, or per 30 points per game if you're a bench player, and you are under 6 foot tall, you are, or like an elite defender, if you're like 5'11", you're probably not going to be in the league. And that's the issue, is that teams will target small guys. They'll target guys in pick and rolls. It's no longer like bigs and smalls where it's like slow-footed bigs where you can kind of fight them over screens, where you can do what Muggsy Bogues did and just pressure guys and kind of get away with that. Like, Muggsy Bogues would not make today's NBA. And it's nothing to do with toughness. It is literally just the way the ball moves, the way a three-pointer is shot, the inability for small players to, a lot of time, to make contests. And he wasn't much of a scorer. Like, he just wouldn't be able to play in today's NBA. Earl Boykins wouldn't be able to play in today's NBA. Nate Robinson probably wouldn't. Even though they could all get buckets. Well, most of them could get buckets. Like, Nate Robinson could get buckets in today's NBA. I think a prime Isaiah Thomas, and I've always said this, where it's like, not Pistons Isaiah Thomas, Celtics Isaiah Thomas, that like, that does not happen in today's game just because of analytics and how analytically the game has just changed. I'm going to even go as far as to say, if Allen Iverson played in today's game, he'd be relegated to a 6-man role. He would, just with the way people view the sport of basketball. It's nothing to do with him as an individual. Obviously, if he had the name Allen Iverson and there was a reincarnation, yeah, he'd play. But if there was a 5'10" guard coming up through Georgetown, was doing what Iverson did, not only would he not go 1 in the draft, he might not go in the first round. And he'd be relegated to a 6-man role. He would probably be the greatest 6-man ever, but with what teams value right now, unfortunately, he wouldn't be able to do much. And that's the thing with Yuki Kawamura, is that we've seen in the Olympics, we've seen in situations that he can really ball out. Like, I would be very confident that, let's just say Ja and Scottie Pippen Jr. went down. If he was allowed run the show, that he could average 18 points per game. The problem is he might be giving up 20 on the defensive end. And that's the reason why he's not playing more, is that he can get you buckets, but he's going to be giving up a lot on the defensive end. And maybe it's not going to be on individual possessions. And this is why people a lot of the time have a flawed understanding of defense. And defense is not about you getting a stop on your man. It is about over the course of 48 minutes, your team conceding the least amount of points possible. And you can see the least amount of points possible by making sure the other team shoots as many low percentage shots as possible. Like, if you are not going to lose a game, you're not going to lose many games if the other team are shooting dribble, pull up ISO shots in your face. No matter how good they are hitting them, you're not going to lose many games over the course of the season if you are able to force teams into that. The problem is that when you've got like a Yuki Kawamura on the floor, you can really exploit that. You can exploit guard mismatches. You can exploit him in the pick and roll. You can, no matter who he's guarding, they can become the roll guy. They can become the pop guy. He can't switch, so it becomes really difficult with modern schemes and modern systems to have him on the floor because he can be targeted. He can be targeted in everything. So it's a really tough thing, but I still think there's not going to be a Linsanity run for him. I think there's going to be Linsanity games. And I think if he's in the NBA long enough, he might be an April legend. If you know what I mean by April legends, like when Malachi Flynn drops 50, when what's-his-name had 40, when Kenneth Lofton comes in and drops 40 in his rookie season. Like those guys where when the league's kind of over in April, and it's a lot of G League guys, a lot of bench guys, they just become April legends. And I think he could become an April legend. Like he could have a 35, 40-point game towards the end of the regular season. And I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility for him to have a Peyton Pritchard type role. And I think he's not going to be as good as Peyton Pritchard. But I think for him to make it in the NBA, I'm not sure the Grizzlies is the spot for him because the Grizzlies are a good team. I would love for him next season to sign with a bad team that needs to put butts in seats and play as a 15-minute a game flamethrower off the bench, because I think he could do it. I think he could have the occasional 20-point game off the bench because he can score, he's tough, he plays hard. The problem is, again, he's just 5'8". But as far as just tangible skills, he's got them all. The problem is, again, he's 5'8", but he's a bucket. He's going to be a bucket at every level, including the NBA level. Like, he has that ability to score, even at that level. And I would love to see him go to a team that doesn't have the best backup point guard in the league in Scottie Pippen Jr. and isn't like gunning for a title. Because I think if you put him on a team that's kind of struggling and like it's just like struggling in a demoralizing way, and then suddenly you have Yuki Kawamura coming on and giving you 10 points per game off the bench, the occasional 20-point blowout or 20-point like blow up, and he would like put butts in seats, people would be excited, and who knows, maybe your starter goes down and you can have that 4 or 5 game Linsanity type run. And it'll be interesting though. I saw it from B-Souls and he's like, the next thing that will make the NBA relevant is a Linsanity type run. And I think that that's just the truth of it all. Like, I think people almost in 2023, like, you're not even going to need a Linsanity type player. I think you're going to need you're going to need a Curry type run. The Linsanity run, I don't think is ever going to happen again. Unless it is someone like a Yuki Kawamura. And by the way, it is not just because they're both Asian. It is just that it just by chance I'm saying that. As in, it would be the same thing like if Brian Scalabrine, when he was like that type of player. Or if, heck, if Bronny James has like a 5-game stretch where he averages 20 points per game and then does nothing else the rest of his career. Like that type of a run. But I think he could end up having one of those type of runs. But for me anyway, like the growth isn't really on the Linsanity type run. I think the growth of the NBA is going to be really about like the next Curry type run, where it's a 2-year, not Linsanity type run, but for 2 years, it makes people that weren't previously basketball fans go, wow, I need to see this guy play. And we haven't had a player that non-basketball fans have said, oh, I need to see him play since Zion played at Duke. But anyway, yeah, that's the video. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.